Good afternoon, everybody. How are we doing? I know this is the lunchtime lull. I would appreciate, even though I'm talking about conditional logic, that you don't fall asleep. All right, let's get started. First thing first, quick thank you to our sponsors, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here. Well, along with you folks too as well. All right, my name is Eric Buchanan. I'm a customer success manager. I serve as a strategic partner for large law firms. I talk to them about workflows, operations, and uncover inefficiencies that are in the law firm and help streamline their workflows by leveraging Clio's resources and the products to its fullest. For today's session, we are going to be covering these topics, starting with a review with what conditional logic is and how this session will elevate your document automation. We will then take a look at how triggers, or also known as indirect conditional logic, works, which contains demonstrations of operators, and operators are the equals, does not equal, contain, and those kinds of things. We'll then talk about nested conditional logic, and we will see how conditional logic works within conditions nested one in another. We will discuss conditional logic, compound conditional logic, and how compound conditional logic can work in conjunction with triggers and nested logic as well. What I want you to take away from today's session is three things, three new skills essentially, that will help you work smarter, not harder. So, just want to check in with folks. This isn't university, but I expect, because we're at an expert level session here, that some of us know what conditional logic is. Can somebody give me an idea, or do we know what a conditional logic is? Somebody put their hand up. Sir, the far back.
Well, it's what it says. It's logic based on certain conditions.
You got it. Yeah, exactly. In a more simplified, he said it's conditions on certain conditions that are set. Essentially, there's a simplified way that you can say this, is that conditional logic is a simple set of rules. It's if this, then that. If this happens, then this is going to happen, essentially. So you set up conditions in place so that if something is there, then it's going to change something somewhere else. Okay, so in the context of, say, a legal clause that applies what certain conditions are met, let's go through an example here. If a client fails to make a payment within 30 days of the due date, then the service provider may, at its sole discretion, suspend services until payment is received. Now, what is the condition of this statement? Payment. Excellent. It's if the client fails to pay. So if the client fails to pay, then there's an action that takes place. And what's the action? Services are suspended. Excellent. Yes. Now, I added on a little another statement here as well. However, if the client provides written notice of a bona fide dispute regarding the invoice within 10 days of receipt, then the service provider shall not suspend services while the dispute is being resolved in good faith. What's the condition here? Written notice. What's the action? Not suspended for services. Is that clear? Does that make sense to everybody? All right, great. So, one other piece here that I just want to point out, I went a little ahead of here. There is another, because we have two clauses essentially here. We have it, the first clause or the first statement you saw earlier was if this, then that, but the second clause we have this is else if this, then that. Just keep that in mind. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. All right. So why is conditional logic important in terms of document automation? Can some folks give me some examples here?
Well, it could save a lot of time.
Save you a lot of time. Excellent. Sir?
Scenario change.
Yep. Anybody else? Multiple use cases. Yes, exactly. Single versus multiple clients. Perfect. There's a reason why you're, yeah. There's a reason why you're sitting at the front, aren't you? All right, perfect. Like many of those examples, save hours of manual drafting, reduce human errors. That's a big thing when it comes to legal documents, as you all know. Ensure consistency across all of your templates. That's also very important too as well. Adapt documents to clients' facts automatically. And more importantly, when it comes to law firms and your profitability and your bottom line, increase their efficiency. So conditional logic gives those hours back to your firm. Lawyers gain billable hours. Paralegals save time. Admin staff save additional time. You are able to work faster and smarter. You can avoid embarrassing mistakes like having the wrong client name or mismatched grammar or pronouns. Make your templates work smarter for you. No more dozens of versions of the same will or contract or POA. No more misspelt names of judges. One single intelligent template that adapts to your client's facts. Great. So, one thing to keep in mind when you are working with conditional logic is something called operators. Equals, does not equal, contain, does not contain, exist, does not exist, greater and less than. Operators are the backbone for what I'm going to show next, which is triggered logic in Clio draft. They act as rules of evidence. They decide when a clause is added or removed, and each one tells Clio draft exactly how it should operate, populating your template fields. Does that make sense so far? All right. So, equals, it means exact match. Does not equal, the opposite. Contains, looks for the text match, essentially like a wild card. Does not contain, excludes the text if it appears. Exist, if a field has any data in it. So if there's anything in there that will trigger that operator. Does not exist, looking for not having that data there. And of course, greater than, less than. If the child is less than 18, do this. If the child is older than 18, do this. There's two types of trigger conditions when it comes to conditional logic in Clio draft. First, there is direct logic. If yes, then insert this clause, insert this statement into your document. For example, your client could serve in the military. If you choose yes, then Clio draft will populate your template with that clause. Indirect logic is a silent partner in your drafting. Instead of asking the drafter a direct question, Clio draft will look for the data that's already in your document, and it will trigger the operators based on that data. Think of indirect triggers as falling dominoes based on that data. What is going to trigger the next condition, the next action going forward in your document? Once the first condition is met or not, then this will trigger the operator which will action based on condition. For example, if child 2 named exists, then add custody clause. Does that make sense? In terms of documents, in terms of POAs, in terms of estate planning. Could somebody else give me another example? I knew you're...
Mine where if trustee 2 exists,
Yes.
make everything plural.
Yes. Perfect. So she said, if trustee 2 exists, make everything plural. So, great. Condition, then action. Any other examples? Okay.
If the county that we're working on, if it's this county, it has specific language. If it's this county, that has different English.
Perfect. Exactly. Excellent. So she said, if there's a certain county that's in the document, then a certain statement will be added to your document. And it could be based on which type of county that you put into the document itself. Does that make sense? All right. let's go over this. This is a screenshot from Clio Draft itself. And I just want to point out how this is working out in terms of the document. Now, let's see if the laser is working here. Yeah, it works. If plaintiff former name exists, then you're going to do this. So in Clio Draft, you're going to highlight your statement. You have your card here. And I'm assuming everybody's familiar with Clio Draft and using cards. So that's why I'm just going to go over just about highlighting the statements. In your document, when you're building out your template, you're going to highlight a section of where you want the plaintiff's former name to be included. This is from a divorce document. So you highlight the section. Your card will come up with an option for you to apply that condition, and it will automatically format your document so that it enters that field in there. So if this is the ex or soon-to-be ex-wife and they want to go back to their original name, then that is going to pop up in the document. So that's going to set that's the condition, and then that's the action is filling in this field. Does that make sense? Awesome. Okay. Now I'm going to take this a little step further now in terms of indirect logic here, or indirect trigger logic here. So we have two conditions here. We have if child full name exists and child 2 full name does not exist, it's going to enter those actions into your document. And you can see how that's laid out here. And if child full name does not exist, there's no children. So you'll highlight a section there, enter that logic into your document, and it will produce this statement. But if the field is filled in that shows that child 1's full name exists in the field, it will populate that statement. There is one child. And if child 2 does not exist, or it does exist, then it will populate the next section here, for going to all the 2 previous sections as well. Does that make sense? Okay. So any questions on triggered conditional logic? Yes?
Are a lot of these also based off of custom fields?
Yes. So one clear thing to make about this is based on custom fields that is in Clio Manage. You have your client's data, you populate it within Clio Manage, and with Clio Draft, that information is going to sync over. You have your template that's in Clio Draft, populated by the custom fields synced over from Clio Manage. So if that custom field, say for instance, the custom field child 1 full name, let me go bring up my trusty laser pointer, child 1 full name, that would be a custom field in your matter in Clio Manage. If that data is not there, if it doesn't exist, and you populate this document, that's the statement that's going to be entered into it. So it's based on those custom fields. Great question. I appreciate that. So next section, or next topic, compound logic. Combine multiple conditions with a statement of and, which you just saw on the previous slide here, when conditions are true, or there's only one condition that needs to be true. So just to explain this diagram here, and statement means condition A and B. And that the shaded section there is essentially the true section here that will trigger it. If child 1 and child 2 exists, then that's going to be populated into your document. If there's two statements that you want that could be either or, that's what A and B is. So if it just needs to be one condition that just needs to be met there. And then you can also get a little bit more complex in terms of your document and your conditional logic that you apply into it. With A and B, as long as those conditions are met, that will put the statement into your document. Or C, if C is met, then that can also put your statement into your document as well. Does that make sense? Okay. I won't go too much into this, but I just want folks to just keep this in mind. When you're working with and or operators, there is true and false situations that can come up when you're making your statements. So just having a good understanding that when you're trying to make 2 conditions, if both are true, then that section is going to be true. If one is true and one is false, then it's going to be a different option. It's kind of binary. Same with or. Or has pretty much all the statements for true and false, except for when two conditions are not met. That's the only time that your statement will not fill into your document. All right, great. Let's go into an example of and or with compound logic here. So here I have a will and testament. These are those custom fields that that will populate into your document. Those custom fields, again, would be in your Matter dashboard under the custom fields section there. They will pull that data and will populate that information there. And everybody's already familiar with in Clio Draft and within in Microsoft Word here, you would have this card that will help allow you to put those conditions into your document. So I'm just going to do a little video here just to show how this is done. So if child full name exists or does not exist, and if spouse full name exists or does not exist, then you can create this condition and have that put into the document based on the fields that are in your document there. So here I'm highlighting the statement, applying that, and there we go. It's that simple, straightforward. As long as you have your conditions laid out and your custom fields are there, and when that information gets populated, your statement will go into your document. So next is the nested logic. Place one condition inside another, creating a layered rule situation. Clauses are dependent on multiple factors and automates complex if this, then that scenarios. Why do we do this in terms of POAs here, as you can see with this one? Why do we want to do this? So if there's one condition doesn't exist, then it will move on to the next condition. It will move on to the next condition. So doing nested logic in your documents avoids messy, repetitive templates. You probably all done this before, where you just take one of your old templates, you copy it, and then you just copy and paste your information into there. This helps you avoid that situation where you don't need to copy. Instead of juggling multiple versions of wills and agreements, one smart template can handle every possible combination automatically. So, just giving a little overview here. Here's a POA. So again, those merge fields there for matter name of agent, name of principal. Oh, sorry, I'm going to a different section. There we go. There's my statement that I'm highlighting here. Based on those fields, when those custom fields are filled out in Clio Manage, when I could set up the condition if the data is there. And this is my first layer that I'm putting in. So if client matter successor agent exists, there we go. Now I'm going to do my second layer. If it's the second one, I believe it is? Yes, second successor. I'm creating a new condition here now. Setting up my custom fields. Create the condition. Now I'm adding that layer. And I should hit apply. There we go. Great. See how I nested that in together? One layer into another based on the conditions of my custom fields, the data that's in there. Excellent. So, I'm going to wrap things up here. First, there is no one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to your document templates. The concepts that we covered for today may not be required. Assess your documents first. See what kind of assets that you have. Second, there are no hard, fast rules when it comes to document automation. This is just a guideline that I just showed you. It's a help to reduce redundancy in your firm. Third, pick low-hanging fruit when you're working on your templates. Not everything needs to be automated. Start with your most common information that's being asked for through your custom fields. So if you have a simple statement, a simple POA that you just want to produce, start with that and add your conditional logics and see what it looks like afterwards. Do some test runs. Another important thing is don't reinvent the wheel too. So if you already have a template that works well with your conditional logic that's in it, you may want to adjust it just mildly, but don't go overboard and thinking you can just automate everything within the document. Take your time. It does take time to set these up. The also more important thing too as well, you're not alone. We have additional resources that are going to be available for you, which I'm going to list on our next slide here. And we also have an incredible support team that's available for you as well. They're at your disposal 24 hours, Monday to Friday. Any questions on what I covered for today? Gentleman at the far back, I see your hand.
Are the conditionals and the plugin for Word only available with Clio Draft, or are they available also in the managed templates?
It's only available in Clio Draft, yeah. Managed, just to be clear, we do have Clio Managed does have document automation with the use of merge fields, but it's a very simple version of doing document automation. What Clio Draft will allow you to do is have one central document where you can have conditions that are within it, depending on your case information. So it will populate all that information for you. So in Clio Managed, you're more likely going to have different versions for different reasons. The POA will have, like, if there's 1 or 2 kids that are in there, then you'll probably have one version for 1 kid and another version for 2 kids. Whereas in Clio Draft, you can just have that one template that will populate based on that information that's populated in your custom fields. Does that make sense? Great. Awesome. Yes.
But surely in the Clio native doc auto, you could create the nested logic. So if there's 1 kid, do this. If there's 2 kids, do this. If it's this county, do this.
You can do that. You can do it with Microsoft Word with the merge fields, but you do have to set that up in Word itself. Here, what I showed is strictly with Clio Draft, and it is an add-on to Microsoft Word so that you could put those logic and conditions and those merge fields into your document for you. Oh, one more thing I should mention too, because we did have an announcement about Draft AI, and I know I'm a little outdated here. Draft AI is going to allow you to create your templates automatically by simply just dragging and dropping, and it's going to populate with your custom fields. But it will not do your conditional logic for you in your document, so you'll still need to set this up manually so far. We may update in the near future. Yes.
I've set up conditional logic where if that information doesn't exist and so the language doesn't populate, I'm left with extra spaces. How do I get rid of those where it brings the next thing up so I'm not left with gaps of blank space?
Fantastic question. What I'm going to suggest to you is you connect with our support team and try to get into a Zoom call with our support team. They can take a look at your document. It most likely just be an odd space here, an odd space there, somewhere like that. And they'll figure it out, do some troubleshooting to make it more consistent for you. So again, lean on our support team. That's what they're there for. We also have our support AI chat within Clio Manage itself. So you have any questions regarding Clio Draft, you can also ask them there. Yes, ma'am. Oh, sorry.
Quick question.
Yeah.
I want to lock the capabilities of anybody messing around with the templates to maybe just 1 or 2 people on the firm.
Yeah.
I don't do that on the Clio Manage side, but I want to do it on the Clio Draft side. I want to lock who can manipulate these templates, because once they're set, I don't want them touched unless we all agree as a team that they need to be touched.
Take a look at your licenses and just restrict your licenses to only individuals that should have access to Clio Draft. There was somebody here.
I was just going to say, as far as the extra spacing, it helps a lot in Word if you activate seeing the hidden characters, that little paragraph.
Oh, brilliant.
You know what
yes.
I'm talking about?
There's a proper term for it that's in
Yes.
Microsoft Word, and I can't think of it off the top of my head. It's a silly little P. That's that little button. Paragraph. Thank you. Paragraph marks. Perfect. All right.
One question that.
Okay.
For the Boolean phrases, like the and the or and all of the other ones, is it limited to those, or are there like counters where it could like count how many children if you filled in the specific fields?
Yeah.
Or is it there like else instead of else if?
Yes, there's else if. There's quite a few more. I'm actually going to bring up a slide here with QR codes on it, and it's going to give you a full range of what your operators are for those Boolean expressions, so that you'll have a list of them. And so, yes, great point to bring that up. That is else and else in not else if, I think it is, will be in there. I'll bring that up in the slide pretty quick. So finishing up here, thank you so much, everybody. This is my email address. Please feel free to take a screenshot of this or a photo with take a photo with your phone. Reach out to me. I'm happy to answer questions as well, just quick and easy. In terms of support that's available for you today here at ClioCon, I'm going to encourage you to head over to our product lab. Our product lab contains our product managers, our designers and engineers that are responsible for designing designing Clio itself. They would love to hear from you. Give them some feedback on what things are working for you or things that are not working for you. They want to hear it so that improves your experience later on down the road. Success Center, I'll be there this afternoon. So if you want to book some time and work, get some troubleshooting done one-to-one, come see me. I'm going to be there from after 2 o'clock this afternoon. I'm happy to connect with you. We can go over your workflows and we can have conversations on how to bring a little bit more efficiency to your firms. And then here are those QR codes that I mentioned. So a webinar on robust document automation. This will be a much more technical webinar that will go more into the details and how to set up your forms and documents. The guide for legal document automation will have those Boolean expressions that you were talking about earlier. That will give you a full range of what expressions are available for you. And there we also have here is Word templates automation as well. So somebody brought up the other conditional logic you can do in Microsoft Word. You could use that guide too as well to help you set up those documents. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate your time.